So today I'm going to talk about Levi's. I'm going to do an overview and talk about some of the issues, concerns, and question marks that come to mind when looking at the company. I did quite a bit of homework in the last couple hours, I guess, to try to figure this out. So let's first start with the company's financial. We're going to look at some statistics, bar graphs, numbers, etc. So I like to use stockanalysis.com. This is the overview page, the one that you land on when you first type in the symbol. The first chart that I like to look at is this one here on the bottom right, which just gives me the revenue and the earnings of the company by year. So it gives me a really quick look of whether the company is profitable and actually making money, which is very important when analyzing a company, especially for me. Also, it gives you some more information, like, for example, is the revenue growing over year or the earnings growing over the years. It's very important. But to get a more detailed look, the next tab we're going to look at here is the financials. This is the revenue line over the last 10 years or so, and it's experiencing a very modest growth, which is my main point of concern, and I will come back to that later. To get a little bit better look at the numbers, I like to use the quarterly bar charts instead. So this is kind of what it looks like, and you can see that the revenue growth, it's growing with about pace of inflation. So it's not anything mind-blowing here. It's pretty static, revenue growth. On the other hand, however, if we look at the operating income, it's actually looks like it to be increasing over time a little bit. Obviously, taking out the March 2020 period. Other things of interest is shares outstanding are about unchanged. So the company has not diluted its shares much. It looks like in 2019, it sold a tad bit of shares, but it's been buying them back in the last couple quarters. Point of interest is the dividend that's been introduced in 2019. It looks a bit sporadic. So what that tells me is that they didn't really have a clear path of like how much dividend they're going to be paying out. Looks like they paid a big one in the beginning, then they halved it, and then March 2020 caused them to suspend it, after which they started building back the dividend slowly. So it's a bit messy. I understand the circumstance, but still. If you want to look at the dividend tab a little more in detail, this is it. So they pay almost a 2% dividend yield based on current stock price, which is about 36 cents per share. The payout ratio is only 21.2%, which is fantastic. The reason it's fantastic is that it's sustainable. Now, barring any outside event like we experienced a couple of years ago, this company should be able to pay its dividend for a very, very long time if it maintains this payout ratio, or tries to. Statistics. Enterprise value is sitting at $9 billion. The market capitalization is 7.5, which tells me they have about $1.5 billion in debt. So let's take a look at the balance sheet, which confirms that. Net cash, negative $1.44 billion, which is not horrible since the debt can be serviced through their earnings. Price to sales is a metric I like to look at, which is 1.25. That's not bad. Price to earnings ratio, if you're curious, is about 13, a little bit under 13. The return on equity sitting at 37.7%, very nice. Return on assets 10.5, return on capital 14.9. Other numbers I like to look at is profit margin, which is 10%. Gross margin, which is 58%. Furthermore, what I want to discuss here, besides the numbers, is, starting with the numbers, is this number here, which is the revenue. Now, the problem with a lot of these companies is, these companies meaning aged, matured companies, is that it's very difficult to grow. So apparently, the entire size of the denim market around the world is about 76 billion, and Levi's takes up about 10% of that. So it's already pretty saturated market. It's very, very competitive, and they already have a really large portion. So what concerns me is their ability to grow as a company. So even though the numbers look good now, that's about what you're getting, right? You're gonna buy something that's gonna return your money in 12 years, and you can be pretty rest assured that that's gonna be happening because of the strength of the company. It's only growing at like the rate of the inflation, so it's very safe, but also very muted return. It's not gonna really make you rich. It's gonna keep you wealthy, but not make you wealthy, is my concern. I think the only way they could really build some more wealth from here for you is by growing that top line. And so I try to look into how are they going to grow this top line. So if I'm looking into the company, and I want to go through some tabs here. So first one is I went to their website to check it out. I mean, it's pretty cool, I guess. What I like about this website is that first, it's really easy to maneuver. Second of all, I know that you're getting a little bit zoomed in. I think it's cool that they use regular people for models. I like the fact that you can have someone to look forward, to look up to, looking like someone you want to look like, but also it's good to see how this product relates to like a regular person. So all these people are really regular. There's some overweight people here. There's some people with weird body types, some skinny people, some athletic people. So I like that they use regular people. This person here, for example, is, it's very normal. It's people that you're going to see on the street, and that's great. I think everyone can relate to this clothing. But I also like the idea of, someone that wears your clothing really well that you want to look like. So what I looked up is whether or not there's some celebrities wearing Levi's, and of course there are plenty of celebrities wearing Levi's, so that's cool. But I don't know about them having any official endorsements. I didn't get that far. Other things I looked at is reward services. So they have rewards program. Because what I was thinking of, like, okay, well, what can they do in order to increase that top line? And I was thinking if they introduce some kind of service, right? Because the way companies like Apple or Tesla are making money and are going to make money eventually is upselling other products on the platforms that they've already built. So if you look at the clothing of their platform, like what kind of things can they build on top of that platform? And if you have a rewards program, that's one of the possibilities, or some kind of service related to clothing, especially since 2/3 of their customers are men, and men are not necessarily they don't really like to spend a ton of time shopping for the clothes. They want something good, something that fits, something that looks great, and something that's fast, and something they don't have to do any research for and look like they have style, right? So I'm not speaking for all men, obviously. This is just most of us. And I was thinking, well, if there's some kind of service that they could promote, where you could have, if you sign up, you can have some kind of discount on clothing. Somebody tells you what will look good on you. Somebody recommends a couple of pairs that you can choose from, and 2 or 3 choices, and you just take one and go. And so I think that's great. And you can also do it not just for jeans, but Levi's makes a bunch of other clothing, so you could get an entire outfit, personalized service for free, right? By signing up for this thing. And I know it's going to be a cost, but it will grow their top line, right? It's going to grow their revenue. So I look at rewards program. This is the only one I could find here, is the red tab, which gives them early access to things, but it's really more of an enthusiast program. It's not really, there's tailor shop, etc. VIP events. It's really just for enthusiasts. It's not really for the regular person. I mean, I think you could have some salespeople going around convincing people they should sign up for this service thing, especially, the guys that they don't need to know anything about jeans. They don't need to know about boot cuts, slim jeans, straight jeans, taper jeans, like, Western taper. I don't even know, right? So they don't need to know any of that. They just need to pick between 2 or 3 choices that have been handpicked for them by someone. And I know that's an expensive service, but it's going to guarantee some revenue. It could be made up by volume or sales, perhaps. But and another thing that I think works against that is their current campaign. I mean, they have a campaign here. I don't know how current it is, but you've got Jaden Smith over here. We're gonna just watch a little bit of this.
Global clothing consumption has doubled in the last 15 years.
Global consumption has doubled.
We can change that.
And they want to change that.
When we
right? So they want to reduce, basically, the consumption for clothing worldwide. And I mean, that's great. It's a noble cause, but it kind of goes against what you're trying to do, right? You want people to buy your clothing, not buy your clothing. And yes, I admire, and I do want companies to build good quality products that last for a very long time, so you don't have to renew them, and creates a little bit of a loyalty brand too. But maybe you want them to not just buy that version. You want them to have another version of your clothing to wear on Tuesday, not just wear the same one Monday through Friday, right? You want them to get outfitted in all Levi's, okay? So I just think the campaign is a little bit, and that was their way of kind of reaching to Generation Z and trying to be, with it and cool, because that's exactly what I looked up. Because companies need to be appealing to the next generation. They need to be keep up with trends, and they need to, it's a very vicious and furious competition when it comes to the younger market. So, okay, fine, Jane Smith, but these kids' ideas, they don't really complement, the business model of selling clothes. At least that's my opinion. So I looked at some other things, like, for example, I looked at their Instagram just to see what it looks like. And it looks like they got quite a few followers there, 7.5 million. And the pictures on there are pretty regular. They have some interesting stuff for, I guess, clothing lovers. But I can't see myself browsing through this, right? But I do like that they try to relate to absolutely everyone, which is cool because they need to expand, right? They need a bigger market. And speaking of expansion, another thing I looked at is their expansion plans, because that's the one way you can grow that revenue line, right? You can go reach more countries, more continents, and it looks like they're a really big brand in Thailand, and they're trying to really expand in Southeast Asia, which is good. And they're opening up stores in Japan and Australia. I think Levi's would probably do really well in Australia and Japan. I don't know, since it's doing so well in Thailand, it's probably going to do really well in Southeast Asia, period. But I was thinking even more, like, capture markets that are not necessarily so traditional or on trend. Like, for example, Africa, right? I think that Levi's could do really well in Africa, especially since that place is not really saturated. I know it's hard to do business there. I understand that, especially for big companies and stuff. And but if there is a way to get in there and to be one of the first high quality brand, relative to the competition, then that could also help them out. So that's one idea. Other thing I looked up is, okay, so if you can't expand, if the market's already saturated so much and you can't expand in the current market, what else can you do? Well, you could try to bring on other products. And I looked at, if how many products Levi's has, and they actually have a ton of products. I mean, just browsing through Google here, you can see that they have a ton of different options and products that you can buy. It's not just jeans, right? But although that's their bread and butter. But I even heard the CEO of the company even sport a leather jacket. It's kind of remake of some Einstein jacket that he used to wear all the time. That's done really well, but it's a full-fledged clothing company. So what I was thinking is like they could expand in newer categories of clothing like athleisure and compete with Lululemon or something. And apparently they've already done that, right? Because I think like a Levi's logo would look really cool on yoga pants or something, right? That kind of look like jeans, but they're actually yoga pants. I don't know if that product exists, but if it doesn't, it should. However, I don't think it exists because they, instead of growing their own brand of athleisure, which I think would be the right move, it looks like they're buying brands of athleisure. So they've apparently bought Beyond Yoga. I don't know how that company works or how good it is or nothing. I don't know any of the reputation or their product quality, etc. So, but it looks like they spent 400 million on it. So we'll see if it yields some kind of profit, and see if they can integrate in some of their, outlet stores that they sell the products at. But I think that's a little bit of a mistake. Like I know that on one hand they want to preserve the logo and have it be very relatable to jeans and denims products, but at the same time you can leverage that, and at the risk of diluting the name, the brand, you could expand your market. And in fact, a lot of young people don't really care about the brand, right? They just they want the clothing to look cool. Like they don't really care about the legacy of the brand, let's say. They don't care about the brand, they do, but not what the brand's done before. Like Abercrombie and Fitch, for example, nobody knows the story of Abercrombie and Fitch, right? Nobody knows that they were making fishing supplies or whatever they were making before. They just care about what they can do for them now. And Abercrombie & Fitch, I don't even see people wearing it a lot anymore, so maybe that brand is in decline. I haven't looked into it, but it's an example of, keep it reinventing yourself for the new generations to kind of suit the current market, because it's a fierce competition, and if you don't compete, you're gonna fall behind. So you can only be a leader for so long unless you put in the required effort to stay there. If you ask all the champions in sports and in other fields, what's harder, getting to number one spot or staying at number one? It's staying at number one. So staying a leader, it takes a lot of effort and it's very difficult, but you got to do it. So those are my thoughts on the company. I think that the company is a safe place to park your money and to get some return, but I don't think it's going to make you wealthy. I don't think it's going to be anything mind-blowing. I think in order to do that, they're probably going to have to grow the top line and discuss some of the ways they could do it. Perhaps, even though they're already doing a lot, they're definitely fighting. I think perhaps they need more of a quantum leap, right? They need to get out of the plateau and just increasing their earnings and the revenue by marginal amounts. They need to make bigger strides forward in order to be a real wealth generator. So that's what I think about the company. Let me know your thoughts, or whether you own it, how much you own, and what you plan on doing with it. All right, that's it for now. Peace out.